What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. All right, we're going to move on to the Warriors and the Mavs. And so before we get into the film here, I wanted to talk about what I talked about last night having to do with the disparity between half court and transition possessions. So as I talked about, the Mavs were really successful in transition. I'm going to show you guys some clips here in a second. Actually, let's just go ahead and get into it. So we have here in transition, let's actually get into our screen here. All right. So in transition, Dallas was getting great looks consistently. As you can see here, we have a turnover in the lane. Luka's pushing the ball up the floor. Right here, again, as we talk about with transition principles, the basket and the ball are your primary objectives, right? So Kevon Looney has to step up to basically stop the ball on Luka Doncic. Moses Moody is keyed in on Tim Hardaway Jr. here in the right corner. And so as a result, there's a baked-in rip-through driving lane to Kevon Looney's left-hand side. And PJ Washington does a great job of capitalizing on that, catches and rips. It's just baked in. It's automatically there just by virtue of the fact that Kevon Looney was already on his left-hand side. At this point, he's already down low and in front of Kevon Looney and has good position. Brandon Podziemski does a good job in help here, but there's just nothing he can do against a player that big coming down at him downhill, and he gets a layup at the rim. This next one was one of the ones we saw a lot in this game, having to do with just Daniel Gafford's insane size that he brings to the table. And they were consistently beating them with kick-ahead passes and offensive rebounds because of Gafford's size advantage. Here we go. This is not bad offense from Golden State. Chris Paul's been shooting the three really well since he came back from his injury, but he just misses it. And on the miss, Gafford gets the contest, but on the contest, he's looking to push up the floor. If you watch Gafford, as soon as he contests, he's running. He's gone. Luka identifies this. Look where he puts this pass. Chris Paul is pointing back to Draymond Green to let him know that he needs to guard the rim. Draymond Green is there too. He's actually pointing to everybody else and trying to organize things. Draymond Green, from his perspective, he thinks he's back. He knows Gafford's there, but he's thinking, I still have this covered. Look at where Luka puts this pass. It's literally above the rim, putting it to where only Daniel Gafford can get it. And from there, where he catches that close to the basket, doesn't matter how good defensively Draymond Green is, Gafford's just too big. And so that's an easy basket that they were able to generate by getting out in transition. Last one, same sort of thing. We get a missed shot. It's a tough shot from Klay Thompson coming off of a screen. Now we have essentially a 4-on-2 fast break. I thought Podziemski made a really nice read here. He saw Tim Hardaway Jr. gathering. He can see the hand underneath the basketball. He sees the gather, and so he identifies that he can get back to Gafford to box out, but Tim Hardaway just makes a really nice floater. But again, good defense, forced him into the toughest shot available there in transition. But Dallas was getting easy looks anytime Golden State had a rough offensive possession, either a turnover or a bad shot. Dallas was pushing down the floor in transition and getting good looks. As a matter of fact, last night, Dallas's offense scored 1.14 points per possession in transition, which was 25% of their total points that they scored. And then in the half court, they scored just 0.862 points per possession. So like I kind of hinted to last night, a gigantic difference in efficiency for Dallas in the half court versus in transition. And Dallas is an excellent half court offense. That's not easy to do. So let's get into the concept of why, or how I should say, Golden State had so much success against the Dallas offense. So as I mentioned last night, everything really comes down to Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is one of the few players in the league with the physical tools, the size, the strength, the quickness, the defensive instincts to actually make life difficult on Luka. And so what I'm going to do in these next 6 clips is just show you the difference in comfortability between the way Luka feels going against Andrew Wiggins on an island versus the way he feels going against the other Warriors on the island. Here we're going to get a Luka ISO against Andrew Wiggins. Fights over the top of the screen. Now we're in ISO. Look at his ability to actually close this gap to make that step back jumper difficult, which is going to force Luka to drive. He can absorb the contact and prevent the bully ball. And look at that. That's actually like a little bit of a janky shot for Luka. Like that's not an easy shot for him. That's a shot you almost expect him to miss. Then as we go into this next possession, another Luka ISO against Wiggins. Oh, we just did this one. Here we go. Another ISO against Wiggins. Watch Wiggins absorb the blows as Luka tries to play bully ball. Can absorb that contact, force him into a pivot. He's pivoting back over his left shoulder now. Wiggins is there. He absorbs that contact too. Now, Draymond Green's going to come with late help here, but Wiggins has done a great job. Obviously, this is not solely individual defense with Draymond coming down, but I thought Wiggins did a really nice job absorbing this contact and taking away those easy shots. When he turns, Wiggins is there. And then Draymond Green is able to rotate out of it. This is actually a textbook example of a passing lane closeout from Podziemski, which we'll get to in a minute. Look, he's not closing out at Kleba. He's closing out to the passing lane to try to take away both shooters. And he's able to get there and force a tough contested corner-ish three from PJ Washington. Last Wiggins one. This is an example of how he can kind of press up on Luka's pull-up jumper. Again, this is not a very good look. This is good individual defense and a difficult jump shot for Luka that he misses badly. Now let's look at how he looks going against the other Warriors. This is a possession against Gary Payton. When Andrew Wiggins is off the floor, he's going to flash high side. Luka's just really comfortable. He's too big. He's going to get to an easy jump shot over the top. He's just not as bothered by these guys. We're going to get a switch onto Klay Thompson here in the early fourth quarter. Easier for him to get to that over-the-top jump shot and knock it down. This time we get Brandon Podziemski in a transition cross match. He's able to get downhill and get an easy shot in the lane. So again, the main point here is the foundational concept of what makes this work is Andrew Wiggins does really well against Luka on an island. Against most of the other teams in the league, when Luka doesn't like what he's getting out of ball screens because of the traps and the types of shots they're getting in the 4-on-3s, he usually can just go straight ISO. And it's obviously a little bit harder to handle that as a defense than it is in a ball screen where you're actually bringing the second defender into the action. But because of Andrew Wiggins and the job that he did on Luka, he actually baited Luka into essentially playing into Golden State's hands by consistently bringing those traps. Let's get back to the film. So here we're going to get a double team of Luka. So they set a screen. Dante Exum sets a screen almost at half court, and Steph Curry is going to basically hedge. Andrew Wiggins is going to come back. So we're going to get this kickback pass to Dante Exum. Now, once again, we're going to get another passing lane closeout from Brandon Podziemski. If he just chases Dante Exum straight off the line, that's an easy extra pass to Tim Hardaway Jr. in the corner, and that's a great shooter. He's a 40% shooter in the corner this season. But instead, look at where he closes out. His first step there is literally into the gap between the two. He's playing on the fact that Dante Exum is a really good shooter, but he's got a long, slow release and is a little bit hesitant. And he gets him to hesitate. See, notice how Podziemski doesn't actually chase Exum off the line. He's in the passing lane. Now Andrew Wiggins, because he's bought the time there, because he's in the passing lane, if Exum throws that pass to Tim Hardaway Jr., Podziemski's picking that off. So now Dante Exum's entire approach changes, and he's thinking drive the closeout to this side because I'm getting an angle. This buys time for Andrew Wiggins to rotate out to Tim Hardaway Jr. Now we get Draymond Green in help on the drive, and we end up getting to the opposite corner. This is a 22% corner three-point shooter, right? So again, 40% three-point shooter in the corner, 22% three-point shooter in the corner. In the simple passing lane closeout, and then a smart closeout from Maxi Kleber is right around 37% above the break. So chase him off too. Now you've turned this double team into the worst possible shot from Dallas, right? And again, a simple difference in the way the floor is organized, a different type of closeout, it turns into a really good shot for Dallas, but a good closeout on the weak side from Brandon Podziemski. Now we're getting a 22% three-point shooter shooting out of the left corner. Alrighty, this is a Kyrie Irving blitz that we see up on the left side of the floor. And we see Gary Payton's going to kind of just bait, and he's stunting back and forth, just kind of trying to play on the indecisiveness from Kyrie Irving. But we do end up getting a pass to Tim Hardaway Jr. And again, Moses Moody has already bailed on the trap now. Since this pass was made, Moses Moody's already back into the lane. This gives Trayce Jackson-Davis the ability to get out and get a late contest on Derrick Jones Jr., and Moody can box out. Moody gets in and box out. And again, Derrick Jones Jr., 33% corner three-point shooter. So again, the story of the game, and I talked about this last night, is Golden State's ability to kind of play Dallas into the lower quality shots in their offense rather than the higher quality shots. This next possession, I think, is the best example of the Andrew Wiggins factor. We're going to get Luka Doncic against Wiggins here at the top of the key. Kyrie Irving is going to clear down to this left wing. Or I mean, go the other way. I'm wrong. Here we go. Now, Wiggins has Luka on an island, and he's got all the space in the world. So if Luka wants to play iso ball, if Luka wants to play one-on-one here, he can. Now, Chris Paul's kind of sitting at the nail, but he's got plenty of room to go right as well. And if he rips through to the right and he draws Podziemski, he can get Kyrie a shot. Luka passes out of this. Luka literally does not want to attack Wiggins in iso. He's getting rid of the basketball. Goes to Kleba. There's only 7 seconds on the shot clock. Now, Luka's going to get the ball back, and all he's going to do is bait the trap and throw it over the top to Kleba. And actually, watch Wiggins as soon as he sees Luka pick up the ball. Luka picks up the ball. As soon as he sees Luka pick up the ball, Wiggins knows he doesn't have to worry about Luka scoring now. So he can actually roll back and guard Kleba. Kleba does a good job sealing Wiggins and creating a passing angle. But again, we're going to get a paint non-restricted area jump shot from Maxi Kleba here. He is 23% this season on shots in the paint that are outside of the restricted area. So once again, Andrew Wiggins and him and his ability making Luka not want to attack him and baiting that trap is turning Dallas's offense into the lowest percentage shots or lowest value shots that they have among their role players. All right, we got 3 more from this game. This time we're going to get a Draymond Green double team of Kyrie up on the right wing. So we see Gafford cutting through. Draymond comes up. We're getting a straight up double team here. But again, we got a 22% three-point shooter in the right corner. And some of this is on Dallas. Like, Dallas needs to do a better job of like flipping these shooters to making it so that these options are a little bit more available there. Podziemski's coming in the lane to kind of help take away this. The only real pass that's available that's to a good shooter is to Tim Hardaway Jr. But we're talking about against ball pressure, like what, a 45-foot pass or something like that all the way to the opposite corner. And so we're going to instead get a little bounce pass here to the high post area where Daniel Gafford's going to catch. Now, Tim Hardaway's still open and he's calling for the ball. But Daniel Gafford, we're playing on his natural kind of instincts here. He's catching and he sees a guy wide open in the corner. So he's just going to throw this pass without even taking the time to turn and look and see what else is available on the floor. That's preying on decision making. Again, Luka, outstanding decision maker, probably going to find a way to get it to the best shooter if he caught in this place in the floor. Daniel Gafford, a guy who's not as good of a decision maker, he's just going to play instinct basketball and take the read that's right in front of him. Now we're kicking to a 22% three-point shooter. Again, this is a pivotal possession in the game. We're 96-92 with 2 minutes and 8 seconds left in this game. And we're getting a 22% corner three-point shot because once again, Golden State is leaning and basically shading their defense towards Dallas's less effective offensive players. Now, one of the ways that I expect Dallas to counter this type of coverage in the postseason is to just have Kyrie Irving set the screen. So now if you're double teaming or trapping in any way, shape, or form, you're leaving the guy that's immediately open off the trap as another super high-level offensive player. Here's an example of how that worked for Dallas here down the stretch. We're going to get Kyrie Luka two-man game. Luka's going to set the screen, and as Steph is chasing over the top, Wiggins' natural inclination is to help, essentially in like a drop. As a result, Luka's going to get a wide open kickback three here, and he just misses it. Very fortunate for Golden State. But this is an example of a way that I think teams will try to counter, or Dallas will try to counter these aggressive coverages, is actually running the two-man game with Luka and Kyrie Irving. But we get an adjustment from Golden State on the next possession. Fast forward a little bit. We're going to get the same thing here, except for this time Kyrie is going to set the screen. So the way Golden State counters this is they just say, let's switch it. So Kyrie sets the screen. We get the switch. Kyrie spaces. Now, Luka has the matchup he wants, but this is where Golden State's extremely gifted defensive personnel enters the equation. Andrew Wiggins, absolute tier 1 athlete, unbelievable wing defensive tools, and Draymond Green, a tier 1 defensive athlete at his position as well. Watch Wiggins. Wiggins is ignoring Kyrie and sitting down at the nail. So as he comes down, Luka makes the right read, this kick out pass to Kyrie. Andrew Wiggins is one of the few athletes on the planet that can also get out there in time and actually make, and look at that first step that he takes and how much ground he covers to get back out to the wing. From right here to right there. He basically teleports to the wing, and that chases Kyrie off the line. Now, Wiggins is compromised here because he's so far on Kyrie's left-hand side that, just like we talked about earlier with PJ Washington, there's a baked-in driving lane to the right. So Wiggins gets beat. But he did his job. He doubled at the nail and forced Luka to give up the basketball while also chasing one of Dallas's best shooters off the three-point line. This is where Draymond Green enters the equation. Kyrie's downhill. Draymond is fast enough to step up and force Kyrie to pass it off. And Daniel Gafford, who's just been jumping over Golden State all night, goes straight up, and Draymond blocks him at the rim while getting the ball and saving it inbounds. And then he goes the other way and ends up actually getting to the foul line. So great example of, like, even in the event that Dallas actually gets what they want, which is they finally get a switch and they get Luka onto one of the lesser defensive players for Golden State, the supreme athleticism and tools on the back end are good enough to chase Dallas out of those high-value shots. Again, down the stretch, it was consistently lesser corner three-point shooters, lesser above-the-break three-point shooters. Maxi Kleber shooting shots in the paint that he shoots at a low percentage. Daniel Gafford having to finish in traffic underneath the basket. It wasn't a lot of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic working with great matchups on an island in an isolation. And that to me, again, comes down to foundationally Andrew Wiggins and the job he can do individually on Luka Doncic to force him to call screening actions, and then all of the speed on the floor, especially anchored by Draymond Green, which gives them the ability to rotate on the back end. Now, again, like I talked about last night, for Dallas's sake, not a lot of teams that have that type of personnel. And so I do think you're going to see actions where they can run Kyrie, Luka pick and roll, get the switches they want, and the speed on the back line is not going to be as good to be able to hard double the way that Andrew Wiggins did on that last possession. And so that's why I say matchups are going to play such a big role when we get into the postseason.